It has been about 3 weeks since I actually got my Model 3, and I have officially done over 1,000 kilometers. But the real question is, did these 1,000 kilometers actually live up to the expectations? Did I start liking the car even more or less? Let's talk about these topics right now. Since the hype of getting the car has died down a little bit, I feel like I can give a little bit of a more objective opinion about the car and actually talk about the things I like and don't like. And the first thing I want to talk about is Autopilot. Before I got my car, the only real technology I had really driven with was cruise control and lane assist, but not even adaptive cruise control, let alone anything close to Autopilot. So this was definitely something I had to get used to. Like just allowing the car to drive itself without you having to do anything. It's a bit scary at first, but after using it a little bit more, I can safely say that I'm actually getting more confident in the technology, and now that I'm more confident with it, I actually use it almost all the time. The only real place I don't really use it is in the city center or some narrow roads. But that's also because I didn't get the full self-driving package, and Autopilot itself is not really recommended in cities or small towns. I've also learned how to comfortably drive Autopilot without having to move my steering wheel all the time. I just put my hand a little bit higher than I usually would in rest position, which makes my hand turn the steering wheel a little bit to the side, allowing Autopilot to think I'm giving a little bit of input, which is enough for it to stop complaining every few minutes. Of course, this still means that I am paying attention to the road, of course. The only downside of Autopilot, I feel like, is that whenever you want to switch lanes, you have to manually get out of Autopilot, switch lanes, and then turn it back on. Which is not a big deal, but it kind of gets annoying after a while. And to be honest, it kind of made me switch lanes a lot less. So I do kind of see the value in getting the enhanced Autopilot. But since that's very expensive, it's definitely not something I'm gonna get anytime soon. The next topic is range anxiety. I honestly never really thought I would get any range anxiety, because I feel like I usually plan my trips quite well, but I'm not gonna lie, I've actually had 2 instances that I was actually a little bit nervous if I was actually gonna make it, but this was just due to some unexpected events, with me having to drive further than I actually was planning to. With Belgium having some kind of a charging network, I was able to still make it home safe without having any problems. And I honestly feel like this anxiety mostly comes from me not wanting to damage the battery by going below 20%, which I'm sure doesn't damage your battery that much, but I feel like it's a good habit to try and prevent this. Next up is the driving comfort itself. This has honestly been something that was great from the beginning and is still great up until this date. I have gotten more used to it, but still every time I get into the car, the driving just feels amazing. And the regenerative braking is actually really nice to drive with. It makes me rarely use the brake pedal at all, which is also very efficient. But this braking is mainly relevant when driving slower speeds, because I feel like the amount of regenerative braking it can handle is only a certain amount, so the faster you drive, the less impact it will actually have on your speed. But this is something you really get used to, and is really comfortable to drive with. The torque is also something that if you have never driven an electric car before, can be really overwhelming at first, but it's one of the best features of the car in my opinion. Whenever you're driving in the city center and you have to make a sudden maneuver or just accelerate a little bit faster, the instant torque is amazing for this. Like close to where I live, there's like this city center which has a lot of roundabouts with multiple lanes, and the torque there has been just amazing to pass slow drivers and just get out of that city center in no time. And whenever someone is acting a little bit tough, you can just show them the Tesla power and there would be almost nothing they can do. Sentry mode was also a feature I was really looking forward to, because since it's an expensive car, you want to keep it in the best shape as possible, right? And you really don't want anyone to vandalize your car. But in my opinion, having used Sentry mode quite a lot, I feel like it's actually a little bit too sensitive. Just to give you an example, over the weekend I had parked my car at a friend's house. And yes, the car was a little bit close to the streets and there were many people passing, but when I came back to my car, it had 168 Sentry mode events. There's no way I'm gonna watch all of them, unless there's some damage of course, but 168 is a lot. But to be honest, I would much rather have it be too sensitive than a little bit too insensitive, if that makes any sense. App itself has been something really nice as well. Even though I got a new version relatively recently, I feel like everything is very clear, easy to use, and works quite well in general. The only downside about the app is that I have to actually awaken my phone every time I wanted to refresh the app. If I don't awaken my phone, I would be just trying to open the doorknob without being able to actually get in. But I honestly don't know if this is because of my phone or if this is just the app only refreshing when you're actually using your phone. So if any of you have actually experienced something similar to this, make sure to tell me what kind of phone you're using, because I'm actually not sure if it's my phone or just the app in general. But besides this, the app actually works quite well, and I don't really have any complaints besides that. The car controls itself are also very intuitive, including the screen, but can be a little bit overwhelming when you're actually searching for one specific thing. Like this one time I was actually trying to open the glove box for the first time, and I think it actually took me 3 minutes to actually find the button. And now that I've actually opened it once, it's so clear. Charging itself actually goes quite well. Even though I don't have a Tesla charger or any aftermarket charger at my home, I just use a simple socket to charge my car, and it takes about 16 hours to go from around 30% up until 80%. So generally, I just charge my car overnight, as the electricity is cheaper then, and it does the job without any problem. And the only time I had to use an external charger was not a Tesla charger itself, and this one charged about 3 times as fast, making me able to charge the car up until 80% in about 3 to 4 hours. But in general, the car is really amazing. It has a few quirks here and there, but I do not regret the car at all. But to be honest, I don't think I would ever regret this car, just because of how much it scared my family. As you know, they didn't know anything about the car when I bought it, which you can actually watch over here, which I think you really should because it's really funny. I'll even give it a head bump.